Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome into Under Review. We're coming at you live from the 143 with episode 144. Nick, how we doing today?
Good. Another week of being a Cowboys fan. So that's
It
that's
has
a good
been
one,
indeed.
isn't it?
It's always fun. It's always fun. It's gotten more fun as we go on with this season. And Cowboys are 3-3, but it definitely doesn't feel like it.
It
kind
feels
of
like
feels like
0-6.
Yeah. Yep. Which we'll talk about now, because the stat of the week, brought to you by Andrew's Logistics, is that the Cowboys lost to Detroit on Sunday. Was the largest loss at home since in Cowboys history. 38-point deficit, 47-9, largest home loss in Dallas Cowboy history.
Yeah, I think that speaks for itself.
Embarrassing.
So, your player of the week, Davante Adams, he was the buzz as this morning, Tuesday morning, he gets traded to the New York Jets, where he reunites with Aaron Rodgers, old teammates they were in Green Bay. And their last season in Green Bay, Davante Adams had 123 catches for 1,553 yards and 11 touchdowns. That was the last time those two played a full season together in 2021. So needless to say, they did some damage.
Yeah, I think the Jets offense gets a lot better, obviously, with Davante Adams, who I feel like is still a bona fide number one receiver. You put him alongside Garrett Wilson, who has also proved himself to be a number one receiver. Defenses are going to have a hard time deciding who to guard, and then you've got Aaron Rodgers' guy, Alan Lazard, still, and Breece Hall. The Jets' offense looks great, and hopefully the defense will be able to feed off of the energy from this as well. We saw them lose a heartbreaker to the Bills Monday night, a game that I believe the Jets really should have won. But Greg the Leg, strikes again and bangs two off the upright. And the kicking game was not there Monday night. But I think Davante Adams reuniting with Rodgers, obviously they came on together. The Pat McAfee show today, they were both beaming. They're pumped to be back together. And I mean, I think it'll be kind of cool to see him back together.
He is expected to play this Sunday night against the Steelers. Obviously, he had the quote-unquote hamstring issue at first with the Raiders. And it got to the point where I think towards the end he just was done playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. And so he's going to be magically healed come Sunday evening when they play the Steelers. So the hamstring is fixed.
I'll be real. I'll be honest. Like, I think it'll be kind of cool. We've had to root against them when they were on the Packers, but now it doesn't matter. So it'll be cool to see them play together again.
That's just dumb to me, though. It's like, oh, I hate where I'm playing at, so I'm just going to say I'm injured and then demand a trade. So it's like, well,
I don't blame them, though. The Raiders are awful.
They are. Absolutely.
No quarterback.
I mean, they do sign your paycheck, so you're expected to go out and work.
What I think is dumb is that the Cowboys had some of the highest cap space this season and didn't even go after him.
Yeah, and shortly after that, not saying that Amari Cooper was like the greatest receiver ever, but he gets picked up by the Buffalo Bills, who were struggling. Didn't really have a true wide receiver one, and they went and snagged him. That would have been a great addition.
Nice little
bringing him back home. Little our own reunion as Dak reunites with his boy Amari Cooper, goes back into the offense that he was once a part of with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and
We're
even
good.
Zeke.
We're good. We don't want him because we don't want anything to change, and that's what we're going to talk about now. We have dedicated our whole episode because you know what? There were games this weekend. There's only one game that really matters right now, and there's only one team that matters to us. There's only one game. Yeah, that's right. There's only one game people are even talking about this week because of how bad it was. It was our game against the Lions, as we said before, largest home loss in Cowboys history. And then today, on Tuesday, Jerry Jones came out and basically threatened to have a couple of radio show hosts fired because they asked him, they basically were asking him, what's wrong with the Cowboys? And he didn't like that. So Jerry is clearly losing it, making headlines. First of all, owners shouldn't be making headlines themselves. Owners should kind of be in the background, but obviously Jerry is always great at putting himself out there in the spotlight. And today made a fool of himself. And so we're out there right now. We're just the laughing stock of the NFL. Whether or not we're 3-3, it doesn't matter. The loss on Sunday was super embarrassing, and I'll let Nick go from there.
Yeah, he went on 105.3 The Fan. That is a popular radio show for just local sports. And Jerry comes on and was being questioned about ownership. And this is just paraphrasing, he said that basically you have no right to question me as the owner. Almost, how dare you? And he was like, I'll get someone else to ask me the questions if that's what we're going to do here, pretty much. And so and him and Mike McCarthy both made it clear that they have confidence that this team can turn it around. Mike McCarthy even said that fairly recently after that loss. He said that he thinks this team is good enough to turn the tide and can make a complete 180. Well, my issue is that the Lions are a Super Bowl contender. They have Super Bowl contending staff from top to bottom, from coaching, from ownership, from everything, from players offensively and defensively. That's a team that's going to go out and compete for a ring come January, February when playoffs roll around, and we just got embarrassed by them. And so if we plan on being successful in the playoffs, we should be able to compete and hang with teams like that, not get embarrassed at home by 30 points.
For the third time at home. I mean, we act like, the Saints came in and embarrassed us, and they're not even good anymore. And then the Ravens embarrassed us no matter what the score was. That game got away from us by the fourth quarter. And then the Lions came in and the Lions, like Nick said, are a lot of people's picks to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC this year. And I wouldn't be shocked if they actually do. They've been the team of destiny here as of late. And so to have somebody come in and do that to you at home, as another team is in the Cowboys who wants to be a Super Bowl contender every year and fails, how can we keep coming out game after game, year after year, saying the exact same thing? Like Jerry does it every year. Mike's done it since he's been here. This team clearly can't turn it around. This team clearly can't contend for a Super Bowl. And from what I've seen, especially on Sunday, I mean, Nick and I were watching the game, and obviously it was pretty much over by the second quarter. What I've seen on Sunday, we have no grit on our team, but we didn't have grit last year either. We just kept beating up on bad teams. And I think this year is really exposing us. We have a tougher schedule than we did last year. We're really getting exposed here on the fact that our quarterback has zero confidence, even though he's the highest paid player in NFL history. And our defense can't stop anything. Pass, run, you name it. I mean, O-linemen were running routes on us on Sunday. They were drawing up trick plays that were getting us completely duped. I mean, the Lions came in and honestly, they made us look like we belong in high school football, if even that. So it was a terrible, terrible showing on Sunday.
And yeah, granted, we do have a lot of injuries, but I don't think the players that are injured coming back will have a big enough impact to where it turns around the season. I think if we play that game fully healthy, we still lose. It would just be by less, maybe. But the issue was that we went out and got nobody this offseason. We had tons and tons of holes that we knew we needed to fix, and we didn't. We knew we needed to get another viable wide receiver option. Didn't do that. Knew we needed a running back. Didn't get a running back. Knew we were getting beat up by the run game, so he needed some big dudes on the front line. Didn't get anybody. And it was just the constant just not fixing issues. Dan Quinn was our defensive coordinator, and he goes out and gets a head coaching job. Well deserving of that. I think he has proven his worth, and goes to Washington as their head coach. We bring in Mike Zimmer, who has shown us that he is horrible.
He has no clue what he's doing.
I get it. He was good when he was here in the 90s, but it is 30 years later. I think it's safe to say the dude has lost it. Personally, if it was up to me, I think we knew Dan Quinn was not going to stick around as the DC any longer. I would have liked to have seen him maybe
absolutely
at the helm of the ship over Mike McCarthy, but it was made pretty obvious that it's kind of Mike's deal until Jerry retires, which is unfortunate because the thing is coaches change, players change, but until we get that ownership change, it's going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen one common denominator over the last 30 years of embarrassment, but especially the last few years of just being letting everyone down in the playoffs. And then this year, obviously I don't think we're making playoffs, but I think we need a complete reboot, and it starts at the top. I think we need new ownership or just new management. So, if Jerry were to hire a GM and then take his hands completely off the reins, that'd be fine, but he's obviously not going to do that. Mike McCarthy's on in the last year of his deal. There's no way they're going to rehire him.
Way.
Yeah, I mean, they also need somebody to pin the blame on right now, and so Jerry, as usual, will find the coach. I don't think Dak is the answer. As much as I like Dak as a person, I don't think Dak's the answer. Actually, sorry, I know Dak's not the answer. Dak has shown us time and time again that he's not the answer. CD, I don't know what's going on with him this season, but I don't think it's really CD's fault as much as our quarterback is become incompetent. Apparently more money makes you incompetent at quarterback.
At least last year he was,
he was good last year.
He was an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
And this year,
I don't know what happened.
He's never seen a football in his life. I don't know what it was.
He's throwing brain-dead picks.
Game-winning drive against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football last week, he has done nothing.
Well, I would say this. We have 3 wins. Our 3 wins are against 3 not very good teams. The Browns, who are losing to everybody, I think they have 1 win. And the Giants, who are obviously the Giants. And the Steelers, who aren't very good. Their defense is really good, but has no real reason to play very well because their offense is terrible.
And the win against the Browns was just because our defense, for some reason, I don't know why or how, week 1 just showed up and just beat the snot out of them. Because
everybody's defense is doing that.
In that second half, was our offense was non-existent. So we won it, no thanks to our offense. And then the Steelers, and then the Giants. We own the Giants. Okay, that's how it's been for the last couple years. Play great against the Giants at home and at MetLife. So that's just how it's going to be. And the Steelers, they started out 3-0, but I think they're slowly being proven to be frauds. But I don't think this team can have real success with Dak. What we've seen every single year in, year out, is great regular season, and then we get embarrassed in the playoffs. Well, now it's not even looking like we're going to have a great regular season.
I think, I agree. Obviously, though, the fact that I think what Sunday shows more than anything, the fact that our owner is in the headlines seemingly every week more than his team, more than what's going on with on the field stuff. He's popping his mouth off like he says he's the best GM in the league. Nobody could do what he does. There's 31 other GMs who are doing exactly what you're doing, and most of them are doing it better. So a lot more people could do exactly what you're trying to do, and they're showing you how to do it, and you're still not going off of their example.
Sorry, keep going.
It's just embarrassing us as Cowboys fans that Jerry's the reason we're being laughed at right now.
Because with that there is no other owner in the history of sports, period, that is as vocal and as public and as out front as he is. And there's no reason for it to be that way. Like, you don't see any other owner doing that, not just in the NFL, but like any sport ever. What a lot of people will talk about is the culture change. Because before, like when they were winning Super Bowls in the 90s, right? They had Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson was at the top, and he was extremely harsh. He cared, he wanted to win, and people knew that. The buck stopped with him. It was like he was the top dog, and he was going to set this culture, and this is how it was going to be. But with the coaches we have right now, we haven't seen any of that. And it starts with the ownership, because Jerry just refuses to make any changes that are necessary because he can't admit that he was wrong. Right? With all these players that he drafts, he wants to keep them around and put so much faith in them, even though they've proven nothing. With these coaches, he wants to, like, he's had Mike for way too long. He did the same thing with Jason Garrett. We had that same issue where he proved to be a nobody, and then we just kept re-signing him, kept skating him out front as head coach, and then we're doing the same thing with Mike. We haven't seen anything from Mike, but for some reason we keep rehiring him, and so I'm gonna be pretty frustrated if we renew his contract or do something or rehire him as head coach.
I don't think that's gonna happen because they let it get to the last year.
There's no reason for it, but then again, I could totally see Jerry doing something like that.
Yeah.
That would seem like such a Cowboys thing.
The thing with Mike and Jason Garrett and just like these guys are not culture builders. These guys are yes men. They say, yes, Jerry, whatever you want, Jerry, I'll do that. Like, obviously Jerry's calling the shots. You see like locker room videos, Dan Quinn going to Washington, changed the culture immediately because he's that kind of guy. Dan Campbell came into Detroit, took one of the worst franchises ever, flipped it around. They're known for being gritty. They're known for being tough because of their head coach. And, the Chiefs,
even down
Andy
in Houston.
Reid. Yeah, Houston, they've got a great head coach. I mean, these guys, Seattle, the Ravens defensive coordinator, McDonald walks into Seattle. They're doing fine now. They're a gritty team. It's all about the culture that the coach comes in and brings with him. And Jerry just wants guys that are going to do what he says. And you know who was a great culture setter? Jimmy. And Jimmy, obviously, he let him go. So if you're going to be – because to be a culture setter, you got to have kind of an ego and you got to have a say in things, and Jerry doesn't want to give that to anybody but himself.
Mike's never been that guy because he's never had to do that. When he was the coach at Green Bay, he had Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers was that guy. And then before that, he had Brett Favre, and Brett Favre was that guy. So he's never had to be the one to be vocal and be the culture setter because he had stars at quarterback that were leaders and that did that. And they backed up all that talk on the field.
Yeah. I just think it all just goes back to Jerry. Because we've been disappointing now for 30-something years. This is not the first time me and Nick have said it. It's about the 144th time since that's how many episodes we have. And it's just like there's one common denominator, and it's about time. Something's got to change. If it doesn't, we're going to keep doing this every year. I mean, we're not even surprised watching these games anymore. I'm embarrassed and ashamed of my football team.
It has gotten to that point, unfortunately. We had, I think we made it clear at the beginning of the season that we did not have high hopes for this team.
Yep.
Just because of the things we did not do in the offseason. But it's just, obviously, we weren't prepared for it to be I don't think we were prepared for it to be this bad. And now seeing it actually unfold before our eyes is just, it's a whole nother story. Like you thought, I thought I had prepared myself for it because I knew it was going to be somewhat similar, but.
Before we leave, I just have one request to all the networks out there. Please take us off your primetime slots because this is just tough. Watching us on, Fox Game of the Week, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, just watching us get killed. We got to play the Texans on Monday night here in a few weeks. We get to play the Niners coming off the bye. Listen, I would love for us to do a complete 180 and just win the next 10 games. We just don't think that's going to happen. And so, just please take us off your prime
whatever that
slots.
week was that we lost whenever Dak was like, jump ship if you want to or whatever. And it's like, okay, dude, we have jumped ship and safely swam ashore and been watching from dry land. Like, that's how far past we are from jumping ship, sir. Just fix it.
Please.
Well, here's like the end of our shows and under review. I brought you a quote from the Peyton Manning. And he said, "The most valuable player is the one who makes the most players valuable."
Amen. And we do not have a single one of those on our team. So it used to be Dak, but now Dak doesn't remember his job, even though he's getting very highly compensated for it. Thank y'all for tuning in this week, and hopefully next week we'll be back. Well, the Cowboys aren't playing next week, so we'll be back talking football and teams that actually win next week with another episode of Under Review.